Hello and welcome to Experiential Learning Lesson 15. Today's lesson is on project proposals and research skills. I'm Louise from Durban campus. Your lesson objectives are to recall several current or recent projects in your area, discuss the role and importance of research in developing project proposals, deliberate the structure and content of a specific project proposal document, apply planning skills to the creation of a project proposal draft, and research skills to the same proposal draft. Apply written skills to the creation of a project proposal draft and apply this newfound knowledge to the formative skills assessment. Too brief, because you will have noticed that you need to write a project proposal for your next assignment. Today's lesson will cover pages 287 to 301 of your textbook. So get that open. Project proposal and reports are business documents which need to be written in a precise and professional way and give detailed and clear information. So today we're focusing on a project proposal, and in the next lesson we'll focus on reports. Project proposals must formally describe all plans, strategies, and actions for a specific project implementation or development. So it's an extremely thorough look at the project and how it will happen and exactly what the scope is for the project, so that all of the stakeholders, and a stakeholder could be a board member, a funder, a client, or a project team member, so that they know what the project involves and where it ends, what is the limit of the scope. And there's a little example from Canva on the left, because Canva is a fantastic tool that you can use to create project proposals. A project proposal should, according to what your textbook says on page 29, give good reasons to support the proposal, details goals, objectives, and scope of the project, outline procedures and operational measures to be executed during the project, detail the task performance requirements, list all required resources, provide a framework for the budget requirements, detail the time frame and order of specific tasks to be completed for the project deadline to be met, and it should really function as an instructional guideline for the project. Once a project proposal has been drafted and given to stakeholders, they each have a chance to approve the project proposal, and then it is now a legal document that a project must follow. So for that reason, it's very important that it is detailed and correct and thorough. So just to make sure that these two concepts are separate in your mind, a project proposal aims to get approval from stakeholders and secure funding. So it's persuasive and instructional. Meanwhile, a report is used to convey information to keep track of project budgets and other important issues. And a report can be either informative or evaluative. So it either gives objective facts or it evaluates information and then gives critical opinions on how to proceed. An important element of your creating a proposal or a report is to be able to do research using reliable resources. So a reliable resource means you're not just asking a classmate for information. You are going to do research within the organization that you work for, or using established census data, using all kinds of information that have been reviewed by experts or created by experts. It's because no matter how well you know a topic, because you're hopefully going to be writing a report or a proposal on something related to your job, no matter how well you know your job, you're still going to need extra information, especially when it comes to numbers. So areas for the research can include costs and budgetary needs, necessary tools and resources, suppliers, and staffing needs. As you can see, each of those types of information will require a completely different source, and you need to become good at finding those sources. So once you've used the tools at your disposal in a library or online or with consulting experts, you can present your research in graphs, lists, or paragraphs using only the relevant data. So while your research may have yielded all kinds of information, you're only going to really present or share the data that is relevant to the report or the proposal. Ensure that all of your sources have been correctly and fully attributed, because not doing so, it might show that you actually have just made some numbers up if you don't attribute it, And if you take ideas and information from other people and don't credit them, then that's plagiarism. And it's just as serious in the working world as it is in the academic world. So you're going to think of a current or recent project in your town, city, campus, or country. And it can be a project like Majupi Power Station or a sports stadium that's being built. It could be, rather than a construction project, it could rather be a fundraising project for a charitable organization. Choose one of the suggested projects and develop a rough draft or a proposal in the class before you proceed through the coming theory. So ahead of class, try and think of this example, and then in class you'll do the activity, and the content will be in the preceding slides. Okay, so with your example project in mind, before drafting a proposal, consider the following questions. What is the broad goal of the project? So it could be to build something, it could be to renovate something, it could be to raise funds and implement a solution. What has led up to or necessitated this project? Usually projects happen because there is a problem to be solved, or there's an opportunity for growth, and that's what has necessitated the project. You also need to ask yourself who is involved in each step of the process, because those people are your stakeholders. And if you have gaps in implementation, so who is involved here? Oh, we don't have that person, then that makes you aware of what you need to work on as you proceed in the project. What is the time frame for each step of the process? This is an incredibly important part of a project proposal, because number one, when you approach somebody for funding or an organization for funding, they're going to ask, how much will it cost? How long is it going to take? So those are important things for you to consider before you even start working on this. You also need to work on who is responsible for each of the steps. So what is the time frame for each step, and who is implementing each step? And what data and resources do you need? So what information do you need in order to implement your project? And what resources do you need to implement your project? So resources can be people, it can be funds, it can be hardware, it can be software. So consider all of these things. It's quite interesting how varied it can be depending on the project. So before you start drafting it, you need to plan your proposal. You can create a diagram which illustrates all of the elements which need to be considered in the project proposal. There is an example of that on page 293, and there's a little screenshot there of the example project proposal plan. Using a diagram really captures the complexity of a lot of projects rather than just going through a list, because it's often not as simple as a linear step 1, step 2, step 3. There are overlapping steps, and a diagram can really help you capture that complexity. Okay, and now what you've been waiting for, the project proposal content. All project proposals start with a front page, and the front page has the name of the organization, a project title, and now that title needs to be informative and descriptive, but not too long. It needs to show the location of the project, a proposed start date, the name of the person receiving the proposal, and the date the proposal was created. So the start date refers to the start date of the project, when you plan to begin the project. After that, you need to have a table of contents. So that will list all of the sections and subsections with page numbers to help somebody who's picking up the report and referring back to something, if they can glance at the table of contents and find the section that they needed to show somebody to convince them of something, it's very useful to have. It also allows somebody who is just opening the report and has no idea what's going to be in it to get a broad overview of what is concerned. After that, you're going to have a summary or abstract. So abstracts are, calling it a summary make it sound vague. An abstract is something that is very specific. It is key features. So it's got the hard and solid content that, everything that is going to be in this project proposal, the most important facts are in the abstract. So it is not a vague summary of the kind of, oh, we hope to build a stadium and it's going to cost a lot of money and it's going to involve a lot of people, but there's, you know, potential for a lot of profit. That's vague. You want specifics. So plans, goals, objectives, how they will be achieved and by whom, and key budgetary numbers. It would need to be less than a page, preferably, to force you to make sure it's only the key information is in there. It's so that somebody who has no idea what is going on with this project proposal can look at the abstract and they will have a decent idea of what the project is about and what it is going to look like in the future. The next section that you might include in your project proposal is the background and context. So this is the context for the existence of the project, a justification which explains the problems with the current status that makes the project necessary, and how the project will address these issues. Then you need project goals and objectives, an explanation of what needs to be achieved and by when, including short-term goals and a start date. So that's pretty self-explanatory, very important. And then you need an implementation plan. So this is where it gets trickier. How will what needs to be done get done? Step-by-step tasks and timeframes with objectives broken down into smaller tasks so that stakeholders know exactly what to expect. This section outlines the precise scope of the project according to objectives and the details of the projected budget. The last section of your proposal might be an appendix. So an appendix is where all of the extra detailed information is attached. It could also be called the annex or appendices or annexes if there are more than one. So this could be authorizations, copies of agreements, plans, quotes, research material, and other overly long or detailed information. So that will all be attached at the end as Appendix A, Appendix B, etc. In class, you'll complete activity 8B on page 301 and discuss the answers. Just in case you don't have time in class, have a look at it now and think about what you would say. So I would like you to look again at your formative assessment 2, at question 2. That question requires you to create a project proposal addressing an environmental or social issue of your choice. So you need to choose an issue, use appreciative inquiry and incorporate the 5 Ds: define, discover, dream, design, and deliver. And then you need to plan and construct a project proposal, which includes, as we've just discussed, a front page, contents, project summary or abstract. Then you need the bulk of your content: problem identification, the description of the issue, explicit and detailed resources, the desired end goal and objectives, explicit and detailed action steps, and an implementation plan. You also need a visual illustration of the implementation plan and annexures with that goes with the project proposal plan. Remember that. Okay, so now you have some idea. Use the textbook. There are loads of research resources online for project management and project proposals. Try and find resources that align with what your textbook says about project proposals, because, you know, project management is such a broad it's such a broad subject that you're going to have things from all over the world that are saying this is what a project proposal looks like. Try and find things that are in line with what we've learned in class and in your textbook, so that you don't include things which are irrelevant or beyond the scope of your assignment. In the next lesson, we'll take a closer look at the role and importance of informative reports, as well as what goes into the development and creation of informative reports. In preparation, please read the Coca-Cola report. It will have been uploaded to Cole Campus.